So without further ado, I'm going to shut off this mic and turn this over to Barbara Grant. Barbara Grant is acting as our moderator. She's a partner in Cárdenas, am I pronouncing that? Cárdenas Communications, and many of you know her as a longtime radio personality, and we're delighted to have Barbara there. I will tell you that in your program booklets, you have bios from all of our speakers and from all of our workshop speakers. So I do want to especially thank our panelists today for coming out early in the morning and to share their important insights from their different perspectives. So with that, Barbara, it's yours.
Well, thank you, Marlene, and thank you for having me here. It's an honor for me to be with this distinguished panel and try to facilitate conversation. I heard one of our speakers just a minute ago say that you ought to thank yourselves for getting up and getting out here this morning, and I just think you ought to give yourselves a hand. Because I tell you, having worked in the school district and at the city of Philadelphia, I know that it is very difficult to gather a group of people who are parents or people acting as parents to get up and find out some information or figure out how to help their children. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a sucker for kids. It's just there isn't anything that you can say to me that would convince me that they shouldn't be our highest priority. And those of you who are grandparents, serving as parents to your it may be to your own grandchildren, maybe to a niece or a nephew, and you don't even have to be a biological relative to serve as a parent to a child. Some of you have taken in children who are of no blood connection to you at all, and I just salute you, and I know that the kind of deep love that it takes to do it. And so we are going to this morning have a fairly wide-ranging discussion with some of the foremost minds in our region who are bending their intellectual expertise, if you will, and their long experience and skills toward addressing the challenges, the risks that our children are exposed to, whether they're legal problems, whether they're emotional problems, whether they're physical problems, the issues of just providing food and shelter and keeping the kids safe, or whether they're educational problems. And that pretty much touches on all of the major areas that we can use to provide and build pillars of support for children. You have to excuse me, I always had a pee-popping problem, so I hope that doesn't irritate you too much. So I'm going to just tell you how we're going to work the panel. It's going to be fairly informal, but we're going to give each of our experts 5 minutes to kind of let you know what their square on the chessboard involves and how they provide support for our children. And then we'll open it up immediately to questions from the audience. So as you're listening to their presentations, please think about the concerns that you brought as you came here and the questions that you want to get answered, because you really have access to some folk who ordinarily none of us can spend 5 or 10 minutes with. And so with that, I wanted to just start the panel out with, everybody got a copy of the What is Kinship Care flyer. It was on the table as you registered. And just look at what the definition of kinship care is. Kinship care is the full-time care, nurturing, and protection of children by relatives such as grandparents, godparents, step-parents, any adult who has an existing relationship with the child or the child's family. Kinship caregivers take on the full-time responsibility of parenting a child when the child's biological parents are not able to do so. The definition of kinship caregiver is designed to be inclusive and respectful of cultural values and ties of affection, and can include caregivers other than biological relatives. Kinship care includes both informal and formal care arrangements. Now that's an awful lot of formal language to say that you really love a child enough to make sure that it is okay. You know, and that's just a powerful, powerful statement. And so with that, let me introduce to you, we're waiting for the commissioner for DHS, and I'll introduce her when she arrives. But I'd like to introduce just to my left, your right, Dr. Arthur Evans, who many of you know as the commissioner for Philadelphia's Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services. It's a $1 billion healthcare agency, and in this capacity, Dr. Evans is leading major efforts to transform how behavioral health care and mental retardation services are delivered in the city. For me, behavioral health, Dr. Evans, is probably the biggest four-letter word in our community. It's the skeleton in our closet. It's the thing nobody wants to really talk about. And I'm sure you'll help us understand why and how we can kind of get over that hump in a few minutes. But we should know that Dr. Evans has a very broad resume and has not only been a faculty member at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine, but his faculty appointments have included such prestigious names as Yale University, Quinnipiac University. He's been instrumental before coming to us in the state of Connecticut and implemented a recovery-oriented policy framework for dealing with behavioral health issues in our community. So please, let's welcome Dr. Arthur Evans. I'm going to introduce everyone, and then we'll go down the lane and let them give us an understanding of what they do. I've also, just to his left, your right, we are graced by the presence of the Honorable Judge Jonathan Q. Irvine, and he has served as judge in the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas and in the Family Court Division specifically, where he presides over juvenile dependency cases. Elected to that post in 2011 to a term that expires in 2022. He has specialized in criminal defense, family, and dependency law, and while maintaining his private practice, Judge Irvine has applied his legal talents to serve our community through the courts as a Court of Common Pleas certified arbitrator, a hearing master for the Emergency Protection from Abuse Court, and the truancy hearing master from 1998 to 2011. Also, he has served as an adoption hearing master during that same time. What the judge does really is make some critical decisions and decisions that affect the life chances of our young people by sitting in front of families who are in turmoil and strife and battling over custody issues, support issues, all of those having a direct impact on what will happen to the children and the quality of life that those children will have. So again, let's welcome Judge Irvine. All the way down the row is Crystal Nelson, and she's director of the Parent Family Resource Center at the School District of Philadelphia. I love the Parent Family Center. Really, it is just a resource for anyone who doesn't understand the huge, big, mega monolithic institution that the school district is, and have ever tried to work your way through it to get a question answered, to get some help for your child, to figure out how to get them transferred if they're in the right place. Ms. Evans has had 20 years of school-based experience as a teacher, assistant principal. Her mission in life is to promote great partnerships between schools, parents, caregivers, and community stakeholders. Welcome. Thank you, Ms. Nelson.